News reports of the recent past have highlighted how extremely vulnerable people suffering from mental illnesses have been during the pandemic. The care that they needed was put at halt during this time. But there were silent warriors, individuals that were making sure that the care that they needed was provided to them. Today, we are in conversation with one such person, Chrissiedana Gomes, who works in the psychosocial rehabilitation program at COOJ that works with people suffering from mental disabilities and illnesses. Let's hear from her the unique challenges that they had to face, how they overcame those challenges, and how we as a community can make individuals suffering from mental illnesses and disabilities feel welcomed and not further alienate them.
My name is Talasha and welcome to our YouTube channel. We all know that the World Mental Health Day or the World Mental Health Month is going on. And as part of that program, we thought, why not get different mental health professionals working in different areas in the field of mental health to talk about their work. Mental health is such a buzzword that has been created over the last 18 months, and everybody now wants to talk about it even if they don't know what it really means. And we thought, this is the perfect moment to call professionals like Chrissy onto our YouTube channel and talk more about their work and the kind of service they give to the community. So Chrissy, welcome to our YouTube channel. Chrissy is a very dear friend, and Chrissy, I don't want to introduce you. I would like you to introduce yourself so that you tell everybody exactly who you are and the kind of work that you do.
Okay. Thank you so much for asking me first and foremost. I was very excited when you did. Chrissiedana Gomes. I'm a clinical psychologist. I've studied in Bombay and then I've come here. As of now, currently, I'm working with the rehabilitation program of COOJ Mental Health Foundation. So that's just a little bit about me, and then we'll go on. Yeah.
All right. So thank you, Chrissy, for first of all agreeing. We know that our work has increased tremendously over the last 18 months. We are an already overburdened sort of area of professionals, and now with the pandemic, that has sort of increased. So before we get into all of that, what I want to know from you is, what is the reason you first of all got into this field?
Yeah, so a lot of people have asked me this question also, and I think it's quite a common question to go around. But when I think back, I always had a plan. I think from the time that I had psychology as a subject, I always planned that this is what I'll do. And later on in life, I wanted to do specifically alcoholism and work with that, or addiction. But then as and how experience and learning, etc. And then I realized, no, I want to deal with the clinical perspective and more of a diagnostic group. But there was no specific reason. I didn't have an epiphany. I didn't really wake up one day and say, okay, this is the purpose of my life. That did not happen. I gradually just fell in love with the subject. We come across it in the 11th and 12th. We don't really have any idea of it before that. So once I came to know the subject, it was something that just came naturally to me, and it was easier for me to do also. So I said, why not? I really enjoy it. That was one of the reasons for me. Yeah.
And that is one of the reasons why I also got into psychology, because I was so fascinated when we did it in 11th and 12th. I'm like, all this while I wanted to become a teacher and, do something for the community. And I'm like, oh, now I have something else that I can do, So I think from then on, it was... Sorry.
Yeah, it comes naturally, and also it explains so much, right? We look at everything sometimes shallow and surface level, but psychology gives you a new perspective towards so many different things, and even people for that matter.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yes. I'm so happy that, I have somebody else on the same page as me, who started falling in love with psychology because it was introduced in 11th and 12th and it took off from there, because I don't hear many people saying that. So that's good to know that there's somebody else with me. All right. Coming to our next question. Chrissy, why do you feel that World Mental Health Day should be considered significant? And why have a theme every year for that? Every year we have different themes. This year's theme is mental health in an unequal world. So why do you think it's important to have a theme? And the next part of the question is, what do you think is the significance of this year's theme?
Okay, so when we talk about mental health as a concept, or mental health in general, I feel like mental health in itself is not spoken about enough. Okay, we don't give it as much as importance as it should. It is one of the newer concepts coming about. You get jaundice, you're more likely to run and get help as compared to if you have any concern with your mental health or even give it any sort of priority. So as a result of that, I always say we should make every day a day for your mental health. But since we tend to not prioritize it, we tend to take it for granted, and we tend to say, baad mein, we'll think about it a little later. We'll see. I think as a result of that, it is nice to have this World Mental Health Day, this one day wherein we are reminded that our mental health is important, that it is something that needs to be focused on. And I think the theme gives it a bit of structure also. It also shows so many different aspects, so many different factors to your mental health that you may have not taken into consideration. You may have looked at communication and relationships, but where you thought of having it in an unequal world. And then when that comes about, then you look at that in more detail, and it allows people to have a lot more awareness on the subject. So like you said, this particular theme for 2021, which is mental health in an unequal world, if you go to see the world designed, where you may be in India, you may be somewhere abroad, it is designed unequally. There is differentiation based on your religion, your caste, monetary background, socioeconomic status, beliefs, where you live, etc., even gender for that matter, right? So in a world that is already unequal, it is so much more difficult for people to look at their mental health, or it is so much more difficult for people with mental illness. So, and then you look at the unequal in terms of mental health also. We have awareness. How much are you aware of? Availability. How many of those resources are actually available to you, or you can, pay for it as of now. And there is stigma. There is so much negative connotation that comes with mental health. So I would say that the theme for this year is actually very important, and it opens a plethora of spheres that were untouched or that were not looked at. Yeah. And it also looks at how you deal with mental health once it becomes a concern, when you've not taken care of it, and also the before. Yeah. Also to look at how do you protect yourself? How do you protect that mental health? How do you make sure that that is something you take care of? So I think it's very important to have this day because we take it for granted. And it's very important to have these themes because it makes us look at all of these factors in a much more deeper way.
And I think with what has happened in the last 18 months also, we've seen so much of inequality apart from the area of mental health, right? We've seen how, like, I was thinking about before this interview, how, we saw laborers walking across states to move to their home and all these other things that are actually happening. And you think, wow, like you and me sitting across screens, this is a place of privilege, right? It's very easy for us to talk about these things when you're sitting here, but to talk about these things when you are fending for roti, kapda, and sending money back to your home. Yeah, it's so difficult, like so difficult. So I think
for them to think mental health is a luxury. It becomes that.
Yes. And it's sad because all of us have like physical health, all of us have a mental health, right? And we are not able to reach that section. I don't know whether I'll able to see in this lifetime, that area touched for those people that don't have the accessibility and, the resources to actually look into their mental health. And it's pretty sad to think about also. Now that we have spoken about that, we've also touched on the topic that, mental health, the inequality is sort of scattered all around the world. It is not only in India that we face such inequalities, right?
Very much. I mean, for that matter, even with race, right? We've seen that. We've seen that in the community. We've seen it in so many different aspects, even with respect to gender. A lot of people in that show that mental illness was said to be found more in certain disorders as compared to women. because cultures likely to wear get met and treat as compared to they would require, they haven't really got, you know.
There's a slight bit of lag, so if you think that I'm not responding to you, it is because of that.
Yeah. So yeah, the inequality is very widely seen, and on top of that, you have stigma because, I mean, let's face it, the world again is designed in a way for the normal, for what we have on our normal distribution curve, for the midsection. Yeah, anyone that is an outlier over there is considered to be abnormal and doesn't fit into what we want. Yeah, our little robots.
Yes.
And since it's too difficult to accommodate them, they are kept in the side, and the world does not cater to them. So as a result of it, that kind of stigma, that kind of taboo comes in. It's easier to stigmatize than actually work around it.
Yes. Yes. I mean, it's so much easier to push people aside than to try and include them in our normal, you know? Yeah.
Very.
So the next question, Chrissy, that I have for you is that we all know that 10th of October is marked as World Mental Health Day, right? And in your opinion, how would you say there's a relevancy between the theme and people that with mental health disorders?
With the theme and mental health disorders. So I would also say, with people that have mental health now to mental illness. Okay. With respect to mental illness, if you go to see a lot of the causes, some could be genetic, etc. But a lot of the other causes are stress related, are trauma related, are situation based. And what happens with people that are disadvantaged? A lot more stress in those areas, like lack of even food, lack of basic life needs. Yeah, even that. You could have neglect from family members because of extensive time working, or because they don't have those parenting skills, or they just don't, they are stressed also. So a lot more stress on people that are disadvantaged already, which could be a factor that worsens their mental illness, or could be a cause of it also, trauma. Another thing with people with mental illness is, okay, once you have that mental illness, to what extent do people that are disadvantaged, that are more marginalized, that are from lower socioeconomic background, to what extent are they aware about their mental illness? Is it considered to be weak? Is it considered to be, oh, you're not trying hard enough? Or do they understand that they have a mental illness? And if you don't understand it, you're definitely not going to treat it. Okay. Then suppose now they have gotten diagnosed, and now they have some understanding that there is a mental illness and something is wrong. Okay. Somehow it happened. And yeah, we do have our government facilities and all, but let's face it, they're also overburdened. Okay. The professors that are there, that are not adequate in number, and the kind of facilities that are adequate either. The West, they're nowhere close. So with them being overburdened, they have given you one slipshod psychoeducation, and they quickly try to explain it to you. You have some surface knowledge from there. Then you go home, and you now from a lower socioeconomic background, I would say, or someone who doesn't know the concept of mental illness, for them it's deviant. It's normal. Suppose that protective factor is reduced. It becomes a taboo. It's a label that is put on that person. That could be one. And sometimes that also leads to resistance in treatment. No? We don't want to treat because we are in denial. Nothing is really happening.
Yeah.
Or say they go for treatment, but they cannot afford the type of treatment the person with mental illness would require.
Yes.
So a lot of it comes down to, like we started off with, the awareness part of it, which not everyone is aware. Again, when we are aware of certain illnesses, we come from privilege. Just having that understanding of it is privilege. Yeah. Then comes the monetary aspect. Then comes the number of professionals that are out there. And then finally comes the stigma and the taboo. It all comes down to that. So people with mental illness, a lot of times, now say you are from a higher social economic state and understanding, you have money also. But you, even in those cases, there are stressors, not this that are unequal or not as privileged as you, maybe slightly better off in that sense.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I think when you were
and
I think when you were speaking also, what came to my mind is, especially in a country like ours, whenever you have a mental illness, there is this sort of relation between, I don't know how to put it without offending anybody, like, with in terms of spirits and things like that, like that sort of an angle sort of comes in, and then also then that stops you from seeking help.
Yeah, because we are very deep rooted in our culture and our religion. So, and Talasha, this also goes both ways. One, you will look at it as a causation, wherein you say, okay, the person is possessed. Another way, you will look at it as a form of treatment also. Don't go to a counselor, maybe speak to someone who is holy, So it falls both ways, and then you're not getting the type of care that you require.
Yes. Yeah. And I think what the point that you said about, how your environment impacts your brain and how you develop, I was telling like my students, we were learning about how excess levels of cortisol are like so harmful to the brain and actually like, kills your brain cells, and it changes the entire structure of the brain. And while ending the class, I also told them, it is very easy for us to sit on our computers, like I told you, like, from a place of privilege, to say that, okay, these things need to be done. Parents need to take care of kids. They need to spend time with their kids and blah, blah. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. But is that really possible?
For them.
Yes,
exactly. That would be so much different if you're giving that same treatment plan to somebody from a more, from a privileged point of view, for someone who has those advantages. Okay, yeah, we'll spend time, yes, we'll do quality time, as compared to if you're giving it. Can you give the same type of treatment plan?
Yes.
Probably not.
Yes.
Yeah.
Probably not, yes. My next question is, we spoke about, taboo in India with regards to mental health, and we spoke about, how we are associating with spirits and all these other things that come along with our culture. And suppose if you have somebody that approaches you and asks you, Chrissy, I have a friend that I think has maybe, they are acting differently than they normally did. They're normal. They're not how they used to be. And I think that something might be happening and something might be wrong. And they're in denial about their mental well-being, right? How would you approach that situation? Or what advice would you give somebody that is watching? They maybe internally feel, that, I know something is wrong. Like sometimes you get that inner feeling that, something is not aligned inside, but they're scared to ask for help. How do you think, what would you tell those people? How would you ask them to approach for help, or any sort of advice that you want to give?
I think now, for instance, I feel that way about my friend. And I feel that way, but my friend does not feel that way. I think over here, what we have to look at also is, when you're telling somebody that I think something is wrong, there's going to be a certain amount of defending that is going to come about.
Yes.
Yeah, it happens. It's natural. It's the first reaction that they would give because they don't accept it as of now.
Yes.
So giving that kind of feedback or giving that kind of criticism, that kind of, okay, listen, I think there is something wrong, would have to come from a person that person trusts. If it is this friend, well and good. Yeah. If it is not this friend, then somebody that friend trusts. It could be a parent, it could be a sibling, it could be somebody else. Maybe speak to them, get them involved and say, do you feel that too? Yeah. And let them break that news and do it in an empathetic manner. Yeah, it's not about, no, but this is what you did. And this is not accusatory. It is more, I'm worried for you.
Yes.
Let me in if you think that I can help you in any way.
Yeah.
We always say, right, to not help someone that does not help themselves.
Yes.
And that is the reason why we have the most difficulties with personality disorders, because they don't find anything wrong. So it's most important to get the person on board in their recovery and their treatment.
Yes.
So one of the best things that you could do is break it to them empathetically and do it through a sport that is very important and somebody that they trust. That trust has to be there. this
Yeah.
won't be well received otherwise. And then move on to if the friend has now come to a stage wherein they feel, okay, yeah, maybe there is something wrong. Don't shy away from going to a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a professional or a counselor if your normal support system is not enough for you at that stage.
Yes.
I think this is also another aspect. The stigma with one is that you can't afford a psychologist and therapy is expensive. And the one that is cheap is, they are overburdened. Okay, the government services are pretty overburdened and there are not enough potential professionals. But with respect to when you say talking to a psychologist and talking to a psychiatrist, also there is a huge stigma attached to that.
Yes.
Yes. Crazy. Something's wrong. Went to. So it's another stigma that needs to be broken in this entire situation.
Yeah, definitely. And the second part of my question was, what if I, as an individual, I'm watching this YouTube video now, and I think that something is misaligned, and like something is not. I know I can feel it from the inside that I am not my normal self. How would you encourage me to ask for help? Like, what advice would you give me in order to go and take that help that is required?
Okay, so this is me talking to you as a friend, or me talking to you as a professional?
You talking to me as a professional. I know that something is not all right, but I'm in denial about that. I can feel it, but I'm still in denial. That middle thing.
Okay. So I would say one of the things is also now we look at functionality. To what extent are this feeling inside? And firstly, whenever you have a feeling, that gut feeling is there is something that is attached to it, and there is some causation reason, something that you have noticed that was slightly off in what you did or what happened or how it should have happened, and then that doubt, could I have handled it better? Could I have done something? Then there is always a root to it, which only you know, but you're pushing it away. So if you do find that root, or you do know that nagging feeling is there, one of the best things to do is to check. Just check. It's not going to harm you. Just go to a counselor, do one session. No one is holding you there. No one is judging you. You don't want to tell anyone, don't tell anyone. But there's no harm in just checking. Just you might even have a school counselor around. You might have a mandated counselor which is at your workplace. Just check. It's just. I've also we've seen this in a lot of things, that mental health, when it is initial phases of like slightly wrong, is a lot better to work on as compared to when it moves much, and you are at that. So early intervention. Go check. Just check.
No, and I would like to add something here, is that many times when we get clients, also we just have clients coming in for 1 or 2 sessions because that is all they need, and it is completely fine because they just need like the safe space to like just talk.
Very true. I think very wrong fun. What you say, understanding that people have that, therapy goes on for years and years. It may, but there is no hard and fast rule. No one is forcing you. It's also based on needs and your treatment plan, and how you feel, etc., and how you progress. So
and I think sometimes they feel that why do I need to go only for one session? And I have my friends to talk to. that is an angle that also comes in.
However, I would say you could talk to a friend and that nagging feeling or that feeling is completely gone away. You don't get it recurrently. Okay. If your current support systems are working, okay. But if it is still there somewhere at the back of your mind, just check. Why not check? No? Why not go for that?
Like if you have like a pain in your chest, you will wait for a few days. If it doesn't go, then you're going to the doctor, right? I think it should say the same should be with your mental health. Like nahi ho raha hai, you cannot manage it. Okay, I'll go like ghar ke nuske se nahi chal raha hai, then you just go and see, right? I mean, I like this. You're saying just go and check. It's like it should be like this. Like just go and check.
It's not something to overthink. You would have gone otherwise.
Exactly. All right. My next question for you is, so tell us a little about the current work that you do, and then we'll move on to the next question.
Okay. So this is my favorite question now, because I know. So I work with the rehabilitation program at COOJ, And I know that the minute everybody hears the word rehab, they're going to think, and I said I wanted to deal with addiction. So people look at addiction and they think addiction, but it is not that. We work with people with various types of psychological disorders or neurological difficulties as well. So we have clients that have schizophrenia, to bipolar, to OCD, to anxiety disorders, to intellectual disabilities, seizure disorders, cerebral palsy. There is a range of various types of disabilities that are under one roof in this rehabilitation program. And what we do over here is it's sort of a therapeutic community wherein we have all these different clients that come together and live harmoniously. Now, the key part of this therapeutic community is that it is a safe space. Okay, it is designed in a way that keeps them safe. They may not be able to do all of these things outside as of now, but we have created this space that is extremely safe for them, wherein they are comfortable and are catered to their needs as far as possible. Yeah, like we said, the world is not designed for them, but we are designed for them. Each of them is given a separate role and responsibility that they have to follow. And then those roles and responsibilities get rotated. And as they rotate, they learn various skills from communication to learning how to stitch, to learning how to cook, watering the plants, right up to relationships or working on themselves, self-confidence, dealing with their hallucinations and delusions. So it has a plethora of things that it works on under this safe environment, okay, which is key. And then the aim is that from that safe environment, they move out into the world and therefore can live to their full potential as far as possible. So we have a combination of individual counseling sessions, group counseling sessions, along with cognitive-based sessions, because a lot of their cognitive aspects are affected. Like simple things like, my tire got punctured, what do I do? That problem solving may be difficult for them. Or attention span of only 10 minutes. And if you can't pay attention to something, nothing else can happen from it. So individual group sessions, cognitive counseling, along with family intervention, because like you said, environment is very important. And as far as we can make it safe here, it's okay, but then they have to go home. Yeah, at 4:30 because we're a non-residential. So this is one of the things that COOJ does. We have a suicide prevention program and a geriatric care. And that I don't work in there, but you can check out the page for more over there.
Yes. And if you guys, while you were talking, I just wanted to let the audience know that COOJ has an Instagram page, and very often, like almost every day, they upload things that their clients do there, right from painting to making paper bags and all these lovely things. They're currently, I think you guys are giving selling Diwali hampers. Would you like to tell the audience how they could? I think this might come a little bit later, but maybe just tell what was the idea behind, the video might come out later. They might not be able to purchase the Diwali hampers by then, but what was the idea behind?
It's okay. We wanted to sell 15 hampers. We're sold out. We're very excited about it. And so the Diwali hamper was created by the vocational setup from the rehab, wherein, what the skills the clients earn, they actually carry out a particular task and then get an incentive, a monetary benefit for it. So it could be making a product, but it could be also working in the shop and doing Xeroxes, or it could be transportation. It could be any of those things. Anything that will gain a monetary benefit. So you can check it out on the Instagram page. So it's everything.
Lovely. I'm so glad that you guys have sold out. The clients will be really happy about that too.
Very much. Now only the hampers have been talked about.
So you already spoke about the kind of setup and the techniques that you guys use at COOJ to help your clients. And you said that your clients come in at a particular time and go back home at 4:30. So that is something that I know for a fact that came to a standstill during the lockdown. And what are some of the challenges that you guys, along with your clients, faced during the pandemic? How did you navigate this entire situation?
Yeah, so there were a lot of challenges. And also, I think because of how suddenly it happened, we also did in the beginning, were in the process of how do we handle this. Everything became online, everything became technology based. We continued doing sessions online. However, something as simple as how to pick up a call and how to cut a call was a task. Even right now with my clients, I taught them how to mute, but I can't say the word mute. If I say mute, they won't understand. I have to say maka bot dakar. And the minute I say bot dakar, they know what else they have to do after that. So for us also to learn, Zoom now I'm very good at it, but at a point of time I wasn't. Google made it easy, but it wasn't.
Yes.
So one of the biggest stress was shifting everything online, and this stress was faced not only by us but by our clients as well.
Yeah.
Even till today, since our online sessions are still going on, there is a struggle. There will be a time when they cannot cut or cannot pick in, etc., etc., or we can't see them. We're looking at the ceiling. We have to see, train them in that. So one was the shift. I think the second biggest problem that we had was, like I said, right, every day from 9:30 to 4:30, their life was structured. They would come here. Everything was, our rehab program was extremely structured. 9:30 to this is this, next this, next this. It gives them that sort of discipline also for to later on work in a workspace. That structure was totally broken. Now, regulation of sleep, we know, is so important for the mood. Yeah, we even what you eat, how much you eat, and is regularized. All of that went for a toss. Our clients are now waking up at 11 and telling us, please don't do a session before that. That structure was completely lost. Along with that structure, an extended period of time with caregivers.
Yes.
And caregiver burden rose to a great level. A lot more sessions, a lot more talking, a lot more calling the caregivers was important now because and some of the things that we would handle here and would work around, and then the clients would go home calmer, etc. More sort not there. They had to handle it, and now we're telling them what to do. But saying it is so easy as compared to, we've not even done a role play, we've not brought them here, we can't physically teach them what to do. So when I say, maybe you can work on your tone, or maybe you can work on your facial expression, how much can I do over the phone? So it was a huge challenge with respect to structure. Our caregivers faced a lot of burden, and there was extended period of time, so a lot more clashes, problems, and the technology aspect. Along with that, we had some of our clients that got COVID. So there was the lack of understanding with respect to why so much of why the mask, why the hand sanitizing. We had one client who said, my hands were too dry. You are purposely doing this to, bother me or to trouble me. So with those kind of things, it's so much more difficult for them to follow those rules. And then when they get COVID, how do you quarantine was difficult. So I guess it was pretty hard. Now that we're back and we have some of our clients coming in, we feel so much better. And we feel the struggle now also. Please put your mask on. Please put your mask on. So I think the struggle is still on. It's very real. We're still trying to figure it out, but we managed. It's happened.
Yes.
It's not bad.
Yes. And I did see you, I follow your Instagram page. So I have seen the transition and how you guys are managing. I obviously don't know what was happening on the other side of the screen, but I did see that you guys were doing some incredible work with your clients.
Yes. I think we've come a long way to adjusting with the pandemic also.
Yes.
For the clients and for us as well.
Yes.
And the caregivers, definitely.
Yes. You spoke about the specific challenges that your clients did face, and how did you help them navigate these things? How did you help them understand what COVID is? Like you said, the gap was there because of the screen, right? How did you guys manage to do that?
Carry it out. I would say, after a point of time when we were more, we adjusted to technology and we understood it better, then we realized, for example, we have a theme for the month. So we had a theme for weeks only on technology. Because we realized that if they don't know how to mute a call, and when there is a lot of disturbance, you're never going to be able to take a session. and making that standardized. So you had a session at that day, at that time, every week. It did not change as far as possible. Unless there were network issues and whatever. So making it standardized and also teaching at the most basic levels. Yeah, moving it down and breaking it down at the most basic level. I think the only thing that really helped us was WhatsApp and Zoom and Google. That's it. That was the main sources, and the internet. If the internet failed us, everything else went down.
Yes.
But we have done sessions on call.
Okay.
We have done telephone. Yeah, so counseling sessions telephonically. Of course, we would choose it based on which client it would still be beneficial for as compared to not. We've used a lot of visual aids, so a lot of screen sharing, a lot more presentations. We had done a session wherein a group session wherein all of us made chicken together and learned to make it together.
Wow.
The other one of the clients, So it's possible. I think it is possible. One of the most things was to keep them and to not use our code. It was pretty frustrating sometimes.
Yes. Definitely. Yes. But congratulations, first of all, on doing such a great job,
Thank God.
All right. So my next question for you is, COOJ also has like a suicide helpline, right? How can individuals, collaborate with COOJ or be a part of that?
So we have a suicide prevention program. We have a helpline. We have a suicide helpline, and we also have an email service. Two things. Okay. One of the things that we also do gatekeeper workshops to build awareness towards suicide, and then we also do training for suicide volunteers. One of the best way, one of the ways that you could collaborate with us or would be with respect to becoming a volunteer. You could get trained to become a suicide helpline volunteer, and you could volunteer with us. Yeah, and invite us for gatekeepers. They will come.
Yes. So I have last few questions for you. So far, you've spoken about your journey with COOJ and the kind of work that you do. No, you've not spoken about your journey, but you did speak about your work. So how has your journey been so far with COOJ? What has your experience been,
I think it's been really happy. I always tell people this. But when you walk into COOJ, it's colorful and it's bright and there's music playing and it's a vibe. It's an absolute vibe. And you sit one day out with all of the clients and you do a couple of sessions with them. Something as simple as a music session with them and your day is lit up. So one of my biggest my journey with COOJ, I would describe in one word, is really happy. It makes me happy. We've seen ups, we've seen downs, but overall, it is a value to be here. I have to comment on saying that we have clients that are really cooperative, of course. Yeah, that goes without saying. But on the other end, even with the pandemic, there was such a big shift. There was so much that happened. There were so many people that lost their jobs, as a result of all of this. There were so many people that I've heard of that stopped taking therapy, that did not want therapy anymore. They couldn't afford it, etc., or too difficult, or just various. Our caregivers were very, very strong in that sense. Strong support from them, active participation. Like every day we'll send our clients a daily activity and they will participate wholly. All of the clients will participate as a result of our caregivers.
Yes.
Because now we can't check that. Yes. No, we can't help that.
Yes.
So yeah, I think in that sense, it's like there's so much of acceptance all throughout the caregivers, from the clients and all of the staff members. That vibe is created as a result of that overall acceptance of no matter what you do, you're still part of this therapeutic.
Yes.
So
that's what I was wondering, when I used to watch the stories on COOJ's profile. I was like, these like your clients are completing their tasks, right? But they would require a lot of help, and usually used to say that, okay, they're all engaging in a task and then put up like the final product or whatever they were doing. And I was wondering, like, it must be difficult for the clients as well as the caregivers to actually engage, and it was possible, like you said, only because the caregivers were so invested. And I think your COOJ community is so wonderful and so like accepting, like you said. So I think community plays such an important role in all of our lives, but especially in
Just
the
that
lives.
sense of, yeah, just
Yeah.
that sense of belonging, not
Yes.
being judged in such a long way. And we think it is for the clients, but it is for the staff as well.
Yes.
There's a reciprocity.
Yes.
All true.
Yes. So Chrissy, you spoke about, I have last two questions for you. This is the last one about your work. So the question is that, you spoke about the community. So the community has the caregivers as well as your clients, right? How can we as individuals, like, we probably know a lot of people in our community that, need help, or caregivers that are, helping their loved ones, navigate through everyday stresses. And we know that the amount of stigma that is attached to when somebody, is not normal, right? So how can we be more empathetic? How can we help them out? What do you think we need to keep in mind? Because many a times we do see people passing comments, right? I don't need to bring those, I don't need to say the comments. All of us know we at some point in our younger ages also, must have made comments. Yes. But how can we be more understanding and empathetic and, accept them from our end also, right? Because they are accepting to a large extent, like, of everybody, but us, it becomes so difficult for us. So what could be done
I think a
maybe
very,
from our end?
very
Sorry?
theoretical answer that I'll give you, and then I'll tell you what I also think personally. Theoretically, it would be build awareness, better understanding, gain the knowledge, and therefore you understand better what is happening, what is the problem there, and how it goes about. Personally, I would say, whenever something like this is happening, okay, sometimes it could just be that a person with mental illness has said something to you that is infuriating, or has done something that is irritating, okay, or is doing something that's funny, whatever, in a derogatory manner for you. At that point of time, I would say just for a second, think about, is it in their control? Are they doing it to infuriate you? Are they doing it to annoy you? Is it really in their control? And what are you persecuting them for if it is not in their control? So it's just step back for a second and think of it from their perspective and look at it from there and say, it has maybe nothing to do with me, and maybe struggle at that point of time. I think that goes with everyone in life also, with or without mental illness. A lot of the comments that come away actually have nothing to do with us. It has to do with another person's struggle.
Yeah.
So it's so important that even if you're infuriated at that point of time, to take a second to think about where is this coming from, and if it's really for me, how do I work with it? But if not, then it's theirs. It's okay.
I think it's I mean that is such a powerful note that you've ended on. Is it in their control? I need to step back.
Exactly. Something as there is a client right now who is so obsessed with looking at the time. She will focus on the time continuously, and very often, even as professionals, some of the professionals will get irritated and say, "Stop, okay? We told you are not supposed to look at the time." And then at that point of time, you think, but can she control it? There is probably some chemical imbalance that is making her obsessive, and as a result of it, she is physically disturbed. Her hands are it's trembling. She has to look at the time. So it's probably just not in her control, or she cannot control it right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be non-theoretical answer.
No, but I think the non-theoretical answer as well as the theoretical one makes so much of sense. Awareness is much needed, and we know that every passing day there's something new that comes, and you're like, why? And you realize the amount of work that needs to be done. And Chrissy,
sorry, I just want to say, all the people that think that people use mental illness for attention. Oh my God, no. No. I know a lot of people that, let's say that, oh, she's saying she's depressed because she wants attention. And what if is not doing it for attention?
Yeah.
Then are you willing to risk it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and like you
Yeah.
said, just check it, like if you think,
check.
yeah, just go and check. Yeah. So before the last question for you is, I know that your day is hectic. You have mentioned so many times that our mental health professionals are overburdened. So what is it something that you do, Chrissy, after you go back from work to, help maintain that work-life balance and, de-stress once you go home?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we get carried away with, as mental health professionals, is suddenly the client becomes our responsibility. To a certain extent, we are our responsibility, but once you go home, you're home. So and I remember reading this in the ethics of counseling, wherein they said, if your time is up, the session is over. It has to end there because it's a professional relationship,
Yes.
not a personal relationship. As cold as that sounds, it is so important to carry that home. You are going to be drained. And I know, because I've done this in the first 2 years that I was working in Bombay. I took all of it and I never cut off. So one of the things that I do is I make sure I don't answer anything outside work timings with respect to clients and caregivers. They also know that we're on the same page as that. So that's one thing that helps me. Another thing, then I have 101 other things I like to do. I like to sing, dance, all the things that my clients use a journal. I do. Use mandala coloring. I do. Do relaxation techniques. When I'm upset, I will do it. Okay. So, and I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Works for you. I should try it too. So then there are a lot of things that I do. And I like to keep busy. I think keeping busy also gives me a little bit of peace. So yes.
It was lovely catching up with you, first of all, and talking to you about your work, because we've not done this in such a long time. We keep saying to each other, we need to get on a call, and then never get on a call. But I think I'll catch up with you for a bit after we stop recording also. But before that, any parting words for our audience?
I would say, I know that we don't prioritize our mental health, but over the years, I've come to realize that so much of what we do is related to our mental health, and so much of what we do is related to things we have not looked at, unresolved issues, and things we have brushed away and pushed under the rug. So one of the most important things is, I would speak your truth. Yeah. If there's something that's bothering you, say it. Be unapologetic about it bothering you, say it. Communicate, most important. So much goes unsaid and therefore festers over a period of time. And make sure that you realize that at some point of time that mental health is important and it affects everything you do. So make it a priority now itself. And yeah, that's it.
Yay, thank you so much, Chrissy, for making time. I know you're busy and you have a lot of work to do, but Ketki and I really, really appreciate you for doing this. Thank you once again.
Thank you. Bye. See you.
Bye.